And now we move on to our regular Thursday arts and culture segment. Our culture correspondent, Yeon-seung, joins us live at the studio to introduce to us some of the culture news this week. Yeon-seung, what do you have for us today?
Right, Mok-yeon. So I brought to the table something significant in South Korean media. South Korea's first queer reality shows.
Queer reality shows. Tell us more.
Exactly. So South Korean OTT service Wavve is launching 2 reality shows in July that will show a real and vivid depiction of the people within the LGBTQ community. One is called Marry Queer and the other is called His Man. Marry Queer launched last Friday and it features love from a range of sexualities, while His Man will be a dating show between just men. This is unchartered territory for South Korean television.
Right. It seems like a very bold attempt, not only because it's just the first, but it's also, there's still a lot of prejudice in terms of sexual minorities in South Korea. How did the public react to this?
Well, it is a mixed bag. It's obvious to say, but different age groups, different religions and demographics all have different levels of acceptance towards the people in the LGBTQ community. And many in South Korea are still against the idea of dating someone of the same gender, or they are still prejudiced against the people in the LGBTQ community. So I've been monitoring multiple social media platforms and looking at real-time feeds over the past week, and I did see some reactions that expressed their distaste towards these shows. But still, I did also see a lot of favorable and very supportive reactions, especially on online platforms that are most visited by younger generations, those in their teens and 20s. Also, I do want to say that the general public does seem to be reacting much more favorably to these kinds of shows than they did in the past. So 10 years ago, there was a show that featured transgender guests on a talk show, and comedian Shin Dong-yeop and Hong Seok-cheon were the show hosts, and they're also actually the show hosts of this new show, Marry Queer. But back then, that talk show had to be cut short after one episode because there was such a heated backlash from its viewers. As of yet, that doesn't seem to be the case for these new shows.
Right. But I'm sure, the production is aware that the issue is quite sensitive here in South Korea. So I want to ask, what brought Wavve to come up with the latest series? Were you able to talk to the team?
Yes, so I talked to the person who was behind the idea of creating these queer reality shows, and he said that he just wanted to show the real, actual lives of sexual minorities without the spoof and without the hypersexualization, just as how they are. So before I go any further, why don't I let Arirang viewers to take a look themselves.
안녕하세요. 저는 남자를 좋아하는 남자.
여자에서 남자로 성별 정정 준비 중인
지금은 레즈비언이라고
동성애자로
양성애자입니다.
It's a story about love, but love that has not been seen on South Korean screens. Korean OTT service Wavve last Friday launched its first ever queer reality show, Marry Queer.
할머니 보면 쓰러져. 아니야. 쓰러진다고. 아직 한국은 안 돼.
The show Marry Queer features happy couples who also want to marry. But their plan to take their relationship to the next level is often met with roadblocks.
엄마가 자식 얘기만 나오면 엄마 할 말이 없어.
나는 엄마가 처음에 이해해줄 줄 알았거든.
차라리 내가 죽어버릴까. 내가 이걸 어떻게 안고 살지? 어디서부터 잘못됐는지도 모르겠고.
And this Friday, Wavve is to launch another reality show called His Man. It's a dating show just with men. In the space of a week, Wavve has pushed far past the boundaries set by South Korean media by featuring those in the LGBTQ community.
We created this show because we realized that there were only shows that dramatized their lives, but nothing that showed a real, vivid depiction of their lives.
Teens and people in their 20s don't have much aversion to queer content, so OTT platforms whose target audiences are teens to 30-somethings are more boldly trying to create this content featuring minorities and their stories.
But Wavve faced struggles of its own while creating this show. Some within the company voiced concerns, and the shows also received some complaints about featuring people with different sexualities. But according to Wavve, Marry Queer became the 4th most popular show that new accounts watched first. And Wavve is looking to venture into creating more content that stars minorities.
We can't meet and communicate with all types of minorities in our lifetime. That's where such content comes into play a big part. We can experience indirectly what it's like to be a minority, and that could mature and open up more people.
These shows are the first of their kind. But as media always moves forward in its search for fresh new content, they won't be the last.
All right, Yeon-seung, good work with that. Now let's dial it back a bit. What is new in the traditional Korean arts and culture scene now?
Right, so going back to Korean traditional culture, Korean traditional art has been given a digital makeover in the National Museum of Korea. The museum has on digital display traditional paintings that date back to the Joseon Dynasty. Visitors can also interact with the paintings through AI technology and see how they would look in a Joseon-era portrait by taking a picture of themselves. There's also a VR experience that makes it seem like visitors are looking in from a Korea Dynasty tomb, so plenty to look out for.
Then what about for us who are, looking forward to the weekend? Do you have any news on that front?
Yes, of course. So the Blue House Lawn is actually hosting a special taekwondo performance from this weekend. So ever since the Blue House has been reopened to the public, it's been trying to invite more people to enjoy the beautiful landscape and the time-old buildings that used to serve as the formal presidential areas. But if you haven't been there yet, there's all the more reason to go this weekend. Seoul City government is working with Korea Taekwondo Association, also called Gukgiwon, to diversify the city's entertainment and provide a fun taekwondo performance every weekend until the end of August. The shows are going to be there every Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. for 30 minutes. And then from September, the taekwondo performances will move to the newly renovated Gwanghwamun Square and has plans to settle there as a regular show.
Right. Maybe I should have a look there before it ends. Yeon-seung, thank you so much for your report today. I'll talk to you again next week.